All right, let's dive into this. We've got a really cool collection of articles and videos all about the 4 Chinese celestial symbols.
The Azure Dragon, Vermilion Bird, White Tiger, and Black Tortoise, right?
Yep, looks like our listeners ready for a deep dive into Chinese mythology and cosmology.
It's amazing how these there's so much more than just like mythical creatures, you know? They're woven into basically every aspect of Chinese culture, representing cardinal directions, seasons, elements.
Even architecture in yin and yang, from what I've seen.
Exactly, like a whole symbolic language, practically.
Okay, so we've got these 4 incredible creatures, each guarding a direction, each with these specific qualities. Where should we even begin?
Well, how about we start in the east?
The home of the Azure Dragon.
Yeah. Or King Long, as it's known in Mandarin. It represents spring, growth, power, all those new beginnings.
The imagery is so captivating.
Yeah.
But it's got to be more than just vibrant energy, right?
Oh, absolutely. In Chinese culture, it's also associated with imperial power. You know, that ability to ward off evil spirits.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
But it's also really connected to nature, especially agriculture.
Interesting.
Its element is wood, but it's also connected to water, which is so essential for life and growth.
So it's not just raw power, but those life-giving forces too. I wonder how that connects to ancient Chinese agricultural practices.
You're right on the mark there. You can see the Azure Dragon's influence in everything, really, from planting and harvesting to rituals for, ensuring good crops. There is this deep respect for the dragon's power to bring life and prosperity.
And that makes its presence in Feng Shui even more fascinating, right? It's not just a symbol, but a force you can actually harness for growth and positive energy.
Exactly. The east side of a home, or any building really, is super important in Feng Shui because it's thought to be like the Azure Dragon's domain.
So harnessing its energy brings good fortune.
That's the idea.
Okay, and speaking of harnessing energy, our next symbol is the Vermilion Bird of the South, or Zuki.
Yeah, I love the Vermilion Bird.
So visually stunning. Those vibrant red feathers and the imagery of flight.
It's all about rebirth, grace, virtue.
I mean, like the phoenix, it rises from ashes, right?
Totally. Symbolizing transformation, overcoming adversity.
That cyclical nature of death and rebirth is so powerful. Like even after destruction, something beautiful emerges.
Exactly. But there's another layer here too. The Vermilion Bird is also associated with feminine yin energy.
Which complements the Azure Dragon's masculine yang energy, I'm guessing.
Exactly. It's not just about individual qualities, but this balance and interplay between these different forces.
Different, but equally important aspects of life.
Absolutely. And this idea of balance is so central to Chinese philosophy. The dragon and the bird are often shown together, symbolizing this, harmonious union.
Like a marriage.
Exactly, like a marriage.
But isn't the dragon a fiercely independent creature? I wonder how that fits into the whole marriage analogy.
That's a great question. Balance in Chinese philosophy isn't about erasing those differences, It's about recognizing that seemingly opposite forces can work together, can even complete each other.
So it's not just simple opposites. It's about recognizing the value of each.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving from the grace of the Vermilion Bird to something known for its strength, the White Tiger of the West, or Bai Hu. What's the symbolism here?
Well, the White Tiger is all about courage. Strength, that unwavering determination to overcome any obstacle.
It sounds like a really highly regarded figure.
It is, and it's considered a guardian figure too, protecting against evil and misfortune.
I can see why. Facing challenges head on and emerging victorious. Very powerful.
Yeah, and you see this imagery a lot in Chinese architecture. The White Tiger is often used to guard entrances, ward off any negative energy. It's not just about brute force, though. It's about using that power wisely for protection and achieving goals.
Harnessing that power to maintain order and balance. It seems to resonate really deeply, especially in a culture that values harmony.
Absolutely. The White Tiger is a reminder that even though challenges are going to come, we have the inner strength to overcome them, to achieve our goals.
A very empowering symbol.
It is. It really is. It represents personal growth and development.
Okay, and finally, we've got the Black Tortoise of the North, or Xuanwu. It feels different from the others.
Yeah.
Less dynamic, maybe, but with this quiet strength.
You're picking up on something important there. The Black Tortoise is about wisdom, longevity, and enduring strength. It's, resilience, patience, weathering those storms of life.
It's interesting how the tortoise is often seen as wise across many different cultures, maybe because of its long lifespan. Like, they accumulate so much knowledge and experience over the years.
That's a great point. That connection to time and experience is central to the Black Tortoise's symbolism. It's the idea that true wisdom comes from facing challenges, learning and growing stronger over time.
I wonder if there's a specific story, maybe from the sources you read, that shows this idea of wisdom through experience.
Oh, there was this one article you sent. It mentioned a folktale about an old tortoise. He, even though he was slow, managed to beat a much faster hare in a race.
Oh, I think I've heard that one.
Yeah, it highlights that true wisdom isn't speed or brute force, but patience, strategy, and learning from your past.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
True strength is about resilience and that wisdom that comes with experience.
Absolutely. The Black Tortoise teaches us that even when we're faced with adversity, we can still find strength, wisdom, and the power to persevere.
We've explored each symbol individually, and they're all so incredibly rich with meaning and imagery. It's amazing how deeply woven they are into Chinese culture. But now I'm wondering, how do they all work together?
That's the question, isn't it? To understand that, we need to go back to that concept of yin and yang, which is really at the heart of Chinese philosophy. Because these four celestial symbols, they're not just individuals, they're part of this dynamic interplay of forces.
We left off talking about how these symbols, they aren't just these separate things, but part of this whole yin and yang dynamic. I'm ready to unpack that a bit more.
Yeah, for sure. Yin and yang, it's this foundational idea in Chinese philosophy, representing the duality of, well, everything in the universe and how it's all interconnected.
So it's not like opposites where one's good and the other's bad, but more about balance between them.
Exactly. Think of it like breathing. You need to both inhale and exhale. That expansion and contraction, right? For the whole process to actually work, one can't exist without the other.
Okay, I'm with you. So where do our four celestial symbols fit into this whole yin and yang thing?
All right, well, let's go back to the pairings. We talked about the Azure Dragon, spring, growth, the east. That embodies yang energy. It's active, expansive, masculine, all that.
Right.
And then the Vermilion bird, summer, rebirth, the south, it embodies yin energy, more receptive, nurturing, feminine.
So like two sides of the same coin, each one totally necessary for balance and harmony.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes beyond just those two, too. You've got the white tiger associated with autumn and the west. It's also a yang symbol. Strength, courage, overcoming obstacles.
Very active, outward focus.
Yep. And the black tortoise, winter, the north, that's a yin symbol. Wisdom, introspection, resilience, qualities that are a bit more internal and reflective.
So it's not just that each symbol has meaning on its own. They actually represent this interplay of yin and yang, always working together.
They're constantly interacting, maintaining this cosmic balance.
This intricate dance between opposing but complementary forces all playing a part.
And it gets even more interesting when you see how this philosophy shows up everywhere in Chinese culture. Like in Feng Shui, where you place doors, windows, even rooms, is influenced by these principles.
Oh, right. Didn't some traditional Chinese gardens represent this balance too?
They did, and it's even in martial arts. Lots of the movements and techniques are inspired by these creatures, imitating the dragon's flow or the tiger's grounded strength.
So you're saying that understanding the symbolism helps us understand these practices better?
Absolutely. It's like you've got this secret decoder ring, and you can unlock all these deeper meanings in these cultural things.
Okay, so we've got the yin and yang connection and how it influences Chinese culture. But I'm still kind of stuck on how they interact with each other, like the symbols themselves.
Well, one really cool example is the ancient Chinese constellation system. So they divided the night sky into 4 sections, each one ruled by a celestial animal.
Wait, really? I never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's super cool. So picture the night sky as this giant map, right? Each symbol gets its own coordinate.
Like they each have their own cosmic territory.
Yeah, and the constellations in each of those sections, they're believed to be influenced by the symbol's personality.
So the Azure Dragon's influence isn't just on Earth, it's in the stars too.
Exactly. And the same goes for the others. The Vermilion birds constellations are all about rebirth, transformation. The white tigers are linked to strength and courage.
Wow, this is fascinating. So we can learn even more about them from studying the stars.
Oh yeah, it's like this giant tapestry, and it's woven with all their stories and characteristics. And it gets even more fascinating when you look at the relationships between the symbols, how it shows up in the constellations too.
Okay, you're going to have to tell me more about that. What kind of relationships?
So, for example, the Azure Dragon and the White Tiger, they're often seen as opposing forces. Dragon's expansion, the tiger's contraction.
Yin and yang again.
Yep, but on this massive cosmic level.
It fits since they're associated with spring and autumn, those seasons of growth and harvest. So where do we see that tension in the constellation?
Well, there's a constellation in the Azure Dragon section called the Horn. Represents power, dominance. But then the white tiger has one called the net, which symbolizes the ability to control things, restrain them.
Like cosmic battle playing out in the stars.
Pretty much. And it's not just those two. The vermilion bird and the black tortoise, they have their own thing going on too, cycles of life, death, rebirth, all that.
It's amazing how many layers of symbolism are packed into these constellations.
The ancients, they really saw the night sky as this reflection of the universe. By studying the stars, they tried to understand the forces that shape our world and our lives.
Like they were reading this huge storybook written in the stars.
I love that. And you know what? That storybook is still open for us to read today.
I have to say, I've never been much of a stargazer, but now I kind of want to go out there and see if I can spot some of these constellations myself.
You should. There's something really special about looking at the night sky, seeing those symbols reflected in the stars. It connects us to something so much bigger than ourselves.
And maybe by understanding these symbols, we can all become a little wiser. But we've reached the end of part 2.
Don't worry though, we'll be back for part 3. We'll explore how these symbols and their constellations can maybe help us navigate our own lives, the complexities of it all.
All right, so we're back, diving deeper into these 4 Chinese celestial symbols. We've covered so much ground already, their individual meanings, the whole yin and yang thing, how they show up in Chinese culture, and those incredible constellations.
And in this last part, like we promised, we're going to take it even further, see how those symbols, especially through their constellations, can actually offer guidance for navigating our own lives.
Okay, I'm ready for some of that cosmic wisdom.
Well, remember how we talked about the Azure Dragon and the White Tiger? Opposing forces, but also complementary? Expansion versus contraction?
Yeah, those constellations, the horn and the net, that was a really interesting way of looking at it.
Right, so those constellations, they can actually help us understand that same dynamic, but in our own lives.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. Sometimes we need that push-forward energy, like the dragon's horn, to go after our goals, be determined.
Exactly. But then there are also times when we need to pull back, set some boundaries, focus our energy. That's more like the net, the tiger's energy.
So it's not about always being a dragon or always being a tiger, but recognizing which energy we need and when.
Yeah, finding that balance between being assertive and knowing when to hold back, when to go after your dreams, and when to take a step back, reflect, recharge.
That's really helpful, actually. I feel like I'm constantly being pulled in so many different directions, it's hard to know when to do what.
And that's where understanding these symbols can be so useful. They give you this framework, for making sense of all those different energies and making conscious choices about how you deal with them.
What about the Vermilion bird and the Black Tortoise? What can we learn from their constellations?
Well, their whole interplay is about those cycles,
Okay.
Life, death, and rebirth. The Vermilion bird rising from those ashes, it's encouraging us to embrace change, even when it's painful, even when it's hard.
See those tough times as opportunities for transformation.
Yes. And then you have the Black Tortoise, reminding us that even when things are dark and still, there's wisdom there, there's strength, and it endures.
So even when we face setbacks, when things feel like they're falling apart, there's potential for something new to grow.
For sure. The Vermilion Bird's constellation, a lot of times it's connected to summer, to that fiery energy. It's like saying that challenges can actually refine us, like forging metal in a fire.
Make us stronger.
Right. And then the Black Tortoise, associated with winter, with water, it suggests that being introspective, being resilient, even when things are quiet, can lead to some really profound wisdom.
It's amazing to think about how these ancient symbols, people have been looking at these constellations for centuries. They still have so much to teach us.
It's because they tap into something really universal, I think, about the human experience. We all want balance. We all face challenges. We're all looking for meaning, for wisdom.
It makes you wonder if the ancients, when they were naming these constellations, if they did it on purpose, to leave these lessons for us, for future generations.
It's a cool thought, right? And whether it was intentional or not, these symbols are definitely packed with wisdom that's there for anyone who wants to learn.
So as we wrap up this whole deep dive, what's the one thing you really hope our listener takes away from exploring these 4 celestial symbols?
I hope they feel a sense of wonder, curiosity, about these ancient symbols and all the wisdom they represent, and that they feel empowered to keep exploring them, to find their own personal connection to them, because there's so much there to discover.
I love that. And for our listener who sent us these amazing sources, I really hope this deep dive has opened up even more questions, more things to think about, and a deeper appreciation for this whole world of Chinese mythology and philosophy.
Me too. It's been awesome diving into all of this with you. And for our listener, I'd say, keep looking up at the night sky, keep asking questions, and keep searching for that wisdom. It's all around us.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep connecting to that timeless wisdom. We'll see you then.